Hi guys, can you hear me? So I am streaming, reacting to The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 15 today. So sorry that I was having technical difficulties. The phone I was using my Android and it would not stream horizontally. So I was trying to get that going. I gave up and now I'm streaming horizontally on the iPhone. So this is my first time streaming with the iPhone. So hopefully everything goes smoothly. So okay, let's get Netflix up. Hopefully, by the time we have it going, my gang will be here. Uh, let's see. Say hello. I see people in the live. Say hi if you would like. Okay. So I'm editing the title of the live. So people will know this is a reaction for The Walking Dead, episode 615. Let me see. I wonder if I can join the chat from another phone. Let me see. Is there any way to watch the live on this phone? Can I join? It won't let me join as myself. Haha. And when I click the live button, it says messages are visible. I click on that and I don't see the messages. Maybe because no one has written any message as of yet. Maybe, let me see if I could, I don't see any place for me to write a message. I'm telling you, this is not as user-friendly as I think it would be. I'm waiting for Nor, Rashida, Cam J, Constant, Sherry, Diane, Dee, Sandrine, aka my R girl. Who else? So many great subscribers. I'm waiting for them to start the episode. What happens if it gets to 8 o'clock and my usual suspects don't show up? I'll have to cancel the live because I know they want me to react to this episode while they're there. I want to react to it while they're there because it's a good one, at least the beginning of it. I only remember the beginning with Rick and Michonne. I don't remember anything else that's contained in this episode, but at least I want to react to that scene. So everyone else, hi. Say hello if you're able to. Let me see. It gets a little bit chilly. It's been warm here in LA for the past. Hi Cam J, yay! It's been warm in LA for this past week, and it's gonna be warm over the weekend and warm next week. So I'm back into my t-shirts, but it's a bit cool in my room. So I'm like, oh, I need a little sweater, but then it gets hot. Hey, Cam J, so happy to see you. I'm waiting on everyone else. I can't see the chat for some reason. Hi, Rashida. Finally, yes, Cam J and Rashida are here, so I can start. I don't know where Noor and Constant and Diane and Sherry and the others are, but Diane, yes, Diane is here. Yeah, okay. We can get this ball rolling. Okay, beginning, guys. It's a car with a bullet hole in it. Oh, it's Carol. Oh, brother. Ooh, blood. Soaking into the ground. That's. Ugh. I'll skip the intro, guys. The blood soaking into the ground. It's sad to see a human being's life just seeping through the soil like that. It's. Oh, it's Carol sewing the gun into her jacket. They just tried to find so many ways to hype up this woman that it just got more ridiculous as it went along. I remember seeing, I didn't know that this was going to be a part of the episode, but I remember seeing this and I was just like, I just laughed. I was just like, this is so stupid and ridiculous. So much time in The Walking Dead wasted on trying to hype up this Carol, this character.
Upstairs.
Development of other critical, more important characters wasted.
Happy to see you. What happened? Just slept. Building a new guard tower. I went to the infirmary. It's so quiet over there now. I knew Denise.
Oh,
She's
Denise
speaking.
had passed. Oh,
She wasn't around much before Pete, but before that, she just stayed inside. She was always reading something.
oh my gosh. So much time wasted.
I didn't mean to bring it up.
No, it's just I just keep thinking about Tara when she finds out.
Hey, everything's gonna be okay.
She had a night with him and he left. And again, I think they've and he left. And again, I think they complement each other. Sasha, Rosita. Ooh, I forgot about Abraham and that sticky situation. What does that say? The gun, what is he reading on the gun? Can you guys make that out? Carl, he's reading something on the gun. Sketchy. Ooh, I forgot. Glenn and Maggie had a shower scene. That's very sexy. Rishon gets nothing like that. And they're the lead characters in the show. Can you imagine? It said a bat, KMJ. Look at that. Glenn is bathing Maggie. Oh, Maggie has a great shape. Oh, she's had what do you call it? Bruises on her hips. But that was a very sexy scene. There, Maggie and Glenn and Lauren, not Glenn, Stephen and Lauren did a good job. They have to have a lot of trust because obviously they're naked. So there's a lot of trust to do that scene together. I missed what you said, Cam J. I can't read. Let me see if I can join as another. Let me see. Use my real channel to join. I'm going to pause it so that I can join the chat because it pops up when you type, but I don't see it afterwards. I paused at, I'm trying to remember her name. Sasha climbed down the stairs and Abraham walks up to her. So let me take a gander and see if I can join the live. I am I in the right live? Because it's oh, it had one that's waiting. Like, why is that there one for that's waiting? That's weird. Okay, let me join the one that's okay. Let me join the one that's okay. Okay, let me join the one that's Cam J says Negan's bat on the gun. Cam J says Negan's bat on the gun. Cam J says Negan's bat on the gun. Cam J says. Let me mute that. Sorry, guys. So I muted that. Negan's bat. Okay. Was that the gun that Rosita used to shoot, to try to shoot Negan and she got Lucille instead? What did you guys think of Glenn and Maggie's very intimate and sexy shower scene? That's a, such Glenn and Maggie, their like intimate scenes are very good. It's very natural and authentic, and it's not awkward, and they look very comfortable with each other. So it takes a lot of trust between the actors to pull that off, and Lauren and Stephen pulled it off. They look good. It's sexy, and it's sexy and it's sensual. And that was missing a lot in The Walking Dead for Rick and Michonne. Not because Denai and Andy can't pull it off, but they weren't given many opportunities to. This episode, they're supposed to have a sort of intimate scene, but again, it's when we get there, I'll talk about what I noticed. Okay. But I love Glenn and Maggie's shower scene. That was pretty nice and intimate. And they gave Rick and Lori a scene like that. Uh, Glenn and Maggie's was more sexy and sensual, but it's a common, intimate uh, domesticity that happens between married couples. So it was natural to see. Remember Rick and Lori at the CDC? They took a shower together. Married couples take shower together. So here they're showing, Glenn and Maggie are just are very settled in their relationship, in their marriage, and so we get that nice, beautiful scene between them. So that was nice. Diane says by that time they had to know Glenn would no longer be on the show. I can see the real feelings. Oh, that's a good take. That's a good observation, Diane. So it came across the actors were not acting in some aspect, in the sense that the feelings, the wanting to, knowing that that would be their last scenes together, so they wanted to be, it was like, it's that's like we saw behind the scenes, Andy and Denai hugging, and Denai wasn't, Denai was sad, and stuff like that. So yeah, I could see that. That was a good point, Diane. Nostalgic feelings about all those years working together and knowing it's coming to an end. Sasha gives Abraham his what do you call it? Hi Sherry, good to see you. His cigar, and there, Sasha is not Sasha, Rosita is observing this, which is here's a scene. So this is Rick and Michonne's domesticity. So Glenn and Maggie had the shower scene. This is Rick and Michonne in bed, Rick waking up. uh Rick is spooning Michonne. And it shows their intimacy and domesticity. So that, so yeah, that's good, but I want more. They didn't have enough, in my opinion. So Michonne wakes up. Oh, really, Rashida? That's interesting. Michonne wakes up, eats, takes a bite of the apple, and naturally shares it with Rick. Aside from being food, I remember this scene specifically, the first time it aired, and a lot of Rick and Michonne fans, we were going crazy because they did uh advertise the episode with this, so we knew it was coming. And so they give a little preview. So one of the things I remember, that because I remember this scene vividly, I remember a Rick and Michonne fan, a Michonne fan, making the observation that apple is used as a breath refreshener. So if when you wake up, if you eat an apple, it not only helps cleanse the teeth, but it freshens the breath. So they're waking up, and Michonne grabs the apple out off the table and shares it with Rick. But also, they're low on food, and they just got food from Hilltop. So, they're probably basking in getting to eat something first thing in the morning. And she reached back for those curls. Michonne's favorite thing about Rick are his curls. Rick says this is good.
Jesus came through.
Well, they all did. And they're all gonna keep coming through.
Yes, Rashida.
Maggie asked me and Glenn to help put up more bins and watch points.
Stick around. Judith isn't even up yet.
So Rick, I don't know. Michonne is saying Maggie wants them to put up more watch points, but Rick looks out. I don't know if he looked at the monitor, looked through the window. I can't see what he saw, but he checked, and he's telling Michonne, stick around. No, don't go yet. You know, 'cause he has something to tell her or show her, and he's showing her. Well, Rick wants his woman to stick around for them to have some morning delight, not just some apples. Oh my gosh. What did you say, Rashida? Rashida says, in the ones who live, Rick's eyes are very blue, but on the original shows, his eyes are not that blue. Could it be the filming? Yeah, it's his eyes are very blue here too. Could be, the setting on your television, but yeah, also the filming. I don't know how they filmed the ones who live. I didn't pay attention to see if they used film or if they used they went digital. But in the Walking Dead, they filmed with film, which would actually give you a different you see that grainy, like sort of, it gives the the film, it gives the video, whatever you're watching, a little bit more depth, more shades, more shadows. So the coloring could be different, but a lot of shows and films color grade after. So I don't know that if they color graded the ones who live, or if they color graded I think they color graded The Walking Dead too, to desaturate the colors a little bit, but that could have an effect on how his the color of his eyes appear. But they look pretty blue to me here in The Walking Dead. It's one of his more noticeable features. Diane says he looked at the baby monitor and saw Judith was still sleeping. Okay, thanks, Diane. Rashida says, I noticed. Oh, okay. Uh, I was rereading what you said, Rashida, about his eyes, but I'd already discussed that. So let's get back to it. Rick is having not only his morning snack on the apple, but he's trying to turn Michonne into a snack and a feast. Do you see the implication?
Why not?
He kissed her right by her breast, then her stomach, and he was going lower. So Rick was frisky this morning, and but Michonne stopped him, and her excuse is not viable in my opinion. Who cares what Maggie wants? Maggie got her, made sure she got hers in the shower. Michonne is denying herself from Maggie. Um, hey, Constant, good to see you. Yay. Yes, yes, Constant. He wanted more. He was a hungry boy. The apple wouldn't do.
Maggie has us on a schedule, and I'm not pissing off a pregnant lady.
Yeah, not that pregnant lady.
I remember a lot of Michonne fans were pissed at Michonne for leaving.
She's worried about an attack.
When they come for us, we'll end it. The whole thing.
Rick was so
Just
arrogant
like the
here.
night before. We're putting everything in place, and these people know what to do now. The world's ours, and we know how to take it. Everything we need is right here, inside these walls. We're not losing any of it again. I'm not.
No, you're not. I'm not.
One of the things, Michonne, she went outside to go. They're checking guns or whatever. So I paused it here. And one of the things I noticed in this scene, hold on, I have a guest. One of the things I noticed in this scene is that she was sitting with her back towards Rick. And I wish, they trust each other, comfortable with each other. And plus, she's not fully, nude. She has, I think would have pasties on. So, I wish for, as I said, with Lauren and Stephen, they were so comfortable with each other in the shower scene. And it shows a lot of trust. And I know there's a lot of trust between Andy and Denai. So I wish she wasn't doing the back talk, that she would just turn around and talk to him and just to further share the the comfort that they have as a couple, the the casual intimacy. So I think part of what I love this scene because of course it's Rick and Michonne being intimate, being together, being in love, and showing us a part of their intimate life, which we didn't get enough of in The Walking Dead, which and they gave to other couples. So I would have wished, if I was directing the scene, I would ask if Denai was comfortable with it, for her to like even sit like yoga style. I don't know what that, you sit with your legs crossed to turn and sit, or even, but I didn't want her sitting with her back to him, and it wasn't necessary because she had her, she was nude up top, but she had pasty, she had protection over her breast, so she could have turned, and it still would seem as if she was topless, fully topless, and but it would convey more intimacy. So that's what I would change in the scene as a director. But of course, I would ask the actress if she's comfortable to do that. I would ask her privately, not in front of others, to make her feel uncomfortable about it, that she had to do this. So, and if she was, and I'm sure, as I said, she trusts Andy, Andy trusts her, and they're such good friends and comfortable with each other. I think it would have worked, but I don't know why it seemed a little bit of a it was sexy at first, but I think this, the over the shoulder, very sexy, but eventually if you're comfortable with your partner and you have that casual intimacy, you would turn around. You wouldn't be talking the whole time with your back to your partner. So I would have, as a director, encouraged that to feel more natural. But otherwise, I love this scene. It's just so. Any takes on this scene, or what I was my observations, or how I would direct the scene? None of you have anything to say about that, or disagree with me, or are totally okay with the way the scene was presented? Okay, since no one is saying anything, I was gonna continue. Okay, so who's hold on a second. Rashida just said something. Hold on. Rashida says Michonne and Rick bed scene could have been a little bit more intimate. Consider the first time for them to be together. Yeah. Sherry says they're both so good together that I enjoyed the acting. Okay. Yeah, I liked it. It was a nice treat and surprise, and it reflects that, how in love and intimate and settled in they are with each other, and still craving each other. I love it. I just that one little tweak, as as a director, that I would have her eventually turn around and not do the whole, you know, the dialogue over her shoulder. Otherwise, it still it looked sexy, her doing it, the dialogue over her shoulder. Constance said, sorry, I was driving. Yeah, I do agree with you on that. I noticed that a lot of the time, but hold on, it disappear. Let me read the time. But I think it might be denied that might not be comfortable with it. You may be right, because I think did she, in The Ones Who Live, there's another scene. It was the scene after they made love, and Michonne was talking to Rick about Jocelyn. Yes, the scar. And she did. She sat with her back to him as she was putting on her top. So you might be right. It might be denied that's a bit shy, which is cute. It's deny might be a little bit shy about that. So, but all that kissing and whatever, I think, it's why would you be shy? Sherry says, not to mention Rick looks so darn good. Yeah, yeah, but they're acting. But I'm just saying, as I said with Stephen and Lauren, they were very comfortable. When you're friends and you're actors and you have a guy friend and an acting partner, it's you know it depends. If there's not a lot of and especially scenes where you have intimate bed scenes, they don't have a lot of crew around. They called it a closed set. So it's not like there's a lot of bunch of guys just sitting waiting. Usually for other scenes, you have lighting, you have electrical, you have PAs, you have ADs, you have background or whatever. Everybody's just waiting around or watching the actors, do their dialogue or act or bored and just like whatever. So it's not the same when there's an closed set and there is an intimate scene. There's not a lot of people. Usually, sometimes it's the director and the the cameraman, and the um that has access to but they do need lighting, and they do need but they let the stand-ins come in, do the lighting, and then you know and then it's the director and the cameraman and the actors. So they don't have a lot of crew around for those scenes. So it's Andy, and it's I would think they would be comfortable already. Well, for the ones who live. For now, it's new, but for the ones who live, it's just like, and as I said, she's not fully nude. They have pasties over her nipples, so she's not, so I think I would be, and I'm not an actor, and I'm very shy. I'm almost prudish. So I think if it was my friend, I would be comfortable because I know he's not going to be ogling and you know, do anything untoward. So, and it's not a full on nude scene, I'm sure she had on shorts or, underwear under. So did he. So, yeah, I would prefer the, for me as a director, I would ask the actor if they're comfortable to do that. If they're not, fine. It's not everything. It's not life and death. It's just, So, but yeah, Glenn and Maggie went for it. Lauren and Stephen went for it. They're not, and they're good friends. So there's a comfort level between them. I didn't feel that it's natural to keep your back to your intimate partner in having a conversation. That's the part I would change about it. Let me see what Diane says. They kind of did the Michonne talking to Rick with her back to him in episode of four, The Ones Who Live. Yeah, I think that's what was Constant was referring to. And I do remember that she did that too. So maybe it's a Michonne, Denise doing it as a Michonne move, but it's just it. I'm more inclined to agree with Constant that it could be a deny thing, And if that's how she, she's not comfortable doing that, then I respect it. But as I said, as a director, and it's not a tawdry, it's not porn, it's not even a tawdry scene, I would, ask if she'd be comfortable doing it the other way. But maybe she wasn't asked or, directed to, and she was just doing what she was comfortable with. I don't know. We'd probably have to ask her one day if we get the opportunity. Constant, you said, however, okay. Constance said, I get on the lack of intimacy between them and physical touch in the main show. That has always made me mad. I will say that in The Ones Who Live, her character is putting an end to their intimacy in the moment. In that moment. Okay. So it also flows with it. So, okay, I understand. So, in The Ones Who Live, her putting her back to Rick and putting on her clothes is her actually putting an end to the intimacy. So thank you, Rashida. She's saying to Rick, okay, we need to talk. And to let him know she's serious about talking, she's getting dressed, and she's not trying to entice him or um, turn him on by being facing him. Because if she was facing him and talking to him, his eyes would be all over her. So I get it. That's a great point, Condon. She is putting an end to the intimacy because she wants to get down to what's really going on with him mentally. So that makes sense. For this, the ones who, the Walking Dead, I don't know. it's she did want to she didn't want she we could say the same thing. It just occurred to me. She wanted to get up. She wanted for Rick and she wanted to go out there and do what Maggie wanted. And if she stayed in bed, and she was trying to, Rick was trying to, he was starting to make love to her. And she was trying to put a stop to it because she said they were on a schedule. Maggie had them on a schedule. So her keeping, we could say the same thing here. Her keeping her back to him could be her wanting to not keep him aroused because he was already aroused. And if she faced him talking to him, it would not it would escalate and not de-escalate the intimacy and his desire. So the same thing could apply. So maybe that's the tactic that Michonne uses to gently um tell Rick that she's not going to make love at this moment. So because Michonne is so kind and so respectful to Rick that she's never harsh and she never rejects him in an abrupt or cruel way. So he wants to make love and she wants to make love, but she doesn't want to make love at this moment. Not that she doesn't want to make, but um she doesn't think they should make love at this moment because she wants to get up and get going. So, but in her own sweet and kind way and gentle way, which she has with Rick, even when she disagrees with him or wants to put a stop to something with him, she does it in a way that doesn't let him feel rejected. So, yeah, you're right, Constant. Thank you. See, that's why I love reacting and watching this show with you guys because you bring a different perspective, something that I didn't even think about. And now talking about it and me being honest about not liking a specific aspect of it, you guys didn't get offended or and or put off. but we discussed it and we looked at different angles and came up with something that makes a lot of plausible sense. This is just our opinions anyway. We're not saying anything that we are saying is fact, or this is what the actor thinks, or this is what the actress feels, or whatever. We're not putting words or intentions in these actors' mouths or actions. We are just from what we're seeing trying to deduce or, you know, um, analyze what we're seeing and trying to come up with as perspective that makes sense. So what Constant introduced uh, actually does make sense because she wanted to de-escalate, um, to bring down the temperature, bring down Rick's desire so that they could get serious and talk. And it's the same thing here in that Michonne did bring up to Rick that Maggie's expecting an attack from the Saviors. And that's pretty serious. And they wanted to get everyone, they want everyone to be on she's even more protective now. She has her family, Rick and Carl and Judith. They're her family because, as I told you, once Rick got the go ahead to be with Michonne, it was over. For him, that was his wife. And I think Michonne also sees Rick as her husband and the kids as hers. So they're now, they were a family unit, but it's been consummated now. And that's it. It's done, it's settled. And she's even more protective now. So her hackles are up that she agrees with Maggie, there's an impending attack coming. So she wants to go and join to get ready for this attack. So, what other way, she wants to be with Rick, and Rick wants to play in bed all, all morning. But she's like, that's a gentle way to to say, honey, I can't make love with you right now. And she did it, right? And she, you know, didn't want to have him to tease him. Because if she was facing him or straddling him while talking to him, it would be over. She wouldn't be joining Maggie in anything. So yeah, thank you, Constant. That was really great. Thank you. And Sherry says that makes sense to her. So I agree, Sherry.
Out of you. That way we can find out what strangers can't. In case anyone gets in.
They won't.
Oh no. Where are you going?
And there goes Mr.
No
Impetuous.
shit. You got specifics? What the hell is he doing?
Something he shouldn't.
We gotta stop him.
And there goes Glenn and Michonne. See, Daryl, he's
Make room for.
he's too emotional, he's too impetuous. That's why I said Daryl cannot lead. You cannot go half cocked over everything. He leads with emotions, and that's not a good leader. So him going off and them going to chase him just separates the group. And yeah, so if they were at Alexandria all together, sort of readied for the saviors, yes, again, they would the same, maybe there would still be the same outcome, and maybe not. Maybe only one of them would, die, Abraham, because Negan would try to take out the strongest one. So maybe that would continue the same. Things would work out the same way. But I don't know if Daryl would still be his impetuous self, more likely than not. So we'd probably end up with the same results. So, but yeah, this is one of the times that the Daryl annoyed me because the consequences didn't just rest with him. Other people continued to pay the consequences of his impulsiveness and his emotional reactions.
Freckles ass.
No! Cover my watch. You stay.
Hey, we should keep numbers here.
I know where Daryl's going.
And where's Michonne going without telling Rick? At least Glenn told Maggie he was, Maggie knows he's leaving. But Michonne just jumped in and, hello, girl, you have a family. You don't let your husband know where you are. You don't have a cell phone to get in touch with him and no walkie talkie. She just jumped in with Glenn. But again, plot point. And not a good plot point too, because I have a lot coming. There's stuff coming up that is gonna tee me the heck off with this writing team. Just they're they were not doing it for me, folks, because some things that they're gonna do, and I'm not just talking about Glenn and all that stuff and the bat. I'm talking about things they had Rick say and Rick do, which were so out of character, and again in service of another character. And it just like, oh my gosh. Let me continue before I get off tangent. So this was the last time I mean, not the last time that Glenn and Maggie saw each other, but the last time they were fully together. So that morning shower scene was significant.
What time did she leave? You know what she did? Sometime in the night. I never heard her go, but she made a bunch of food. She took a pack. Did she leave on foot? I don't know.
Rick, I took over at 12. I was on till 6. I never saw anything.
Front's been quiet since the others left. What?
What others?
Daryl, he went out CBM after the Sabres from yesterday. Glenn, Michonne, Rosita, they all went to shut that shit down. Where's the other car? We added 2 more cars yesterday. One of them's missing. The one we put right between those houses. You can barely see between the houses from up top. Especially at night. No, can I see it?
You never saw any headlines. Tail lights. She's smart enough to cover her tracks.
She must have left during the shift change.
Where you going?
I'm gonna go find her.
Wait. Tell Carl I'll be back soon. No one else leaves. Everyone stays ready for a fight.
Everyone stays ready for a fight. All the fighters are gone, including you, Rick. This is the part that teed me off. Why is Rick going after Carol? This is a grown woman. If she want to go, let her go. Morgan's gonna go find her. Why is Rick leaving? His kids are at Alexandria, and Michonne is gone after Daryl. Yes, he knows Michonne can take care of himself, but again, later we're gonna see something else. This is ridiculous. What, Sherry? What are you questioning? Let's see. Sherry said, for the ones who lived, the taste level was spot on. It added to the storytelling of their great enduring, unstoppable love affair. Yes, Sherry, I agree. Rashida said this led to their downfall. Daryl is too hot-headed. Yep. Constance says, oh, thank you guys. Yes, Constance, you were so right. Thank you for that perspective. Rashida says Daryl is too hot-headed right now. He feels guilty about Denise's death. Whatever, Daryl, you're getting the group in more trouble. Rashida says, Michelle, are you or Michonne. Michonne is still in single woman mode. She didn't think twice, hopping into the van with Glenn to find her. I was like, come on, you have a family, Michonne. At least go tell Rick what you're doing. Um, Sherry says, I agree. Why follow behind this silly woman, Carol? Yeah, that ticked me off. Where's Rick going? The saviors are coming. You know, you're leaving and leaving Carl and Judith undefended. Yeah, Abraham and Sasha are there, but come on, Rick. It's the saviors. He's gotten a taste of who they are. These are some hardened, you know, people, and they tried to blow up Sasha, Daryl, and killed Sasha, Daryl, and Daryl. You know, and then you saw the type of people that were at the sanctuary, and the people that you dealt with, you know, that were trying to escape. So he knows these are some bad hombres. Why is he leaving his kids with this threat coming so that he can go find a spoiled, ridiculous woman? She, you know, she wants to come back, she'll come back. If she wants to leave, she'll leave. This is a grown ass woman. You know, cannot stand the absolute ridiculousness of these writers trying to prop this character. It's just so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't care, Rashida. She's not, she's whatever. They're trying to say she's a killing machine, whatever. Why is Rick and Morgan running after her? Whatever. Hype her and make her ridiculous, as ridiculously and unbelievable as you want. But please get the other characters back into their uh into organic character driven storytelling mode. Please. This is just this trying to service Carol to hype her up is another part that ruined the show. Hold on. Okay. Constance says, yeah, Sherry said the writers. Yeah, the season 6 writers are just ridiculous in my opinion. Um, Constance says Rick would have insisted she stay or something. I think she knows he wouldn't be down now. Just like later on, she sneaks out and kills walkers at night. Oh, you're talking about Michonne. Yeah. Rick wouldn't let her leave. But well, you know, that's the issue of being in a relationship. You're not, you know, you don't answer to yourself anymore. You know, so she has a husband and kids. She can't go willy nilly chasing after a. It's the same thing. Rick chasing after a grown ass woman is the same thing. Michonne chasing after a grown ass man. They can take care of themselves, right? They're supposed to be the badass. So yeah, you know, stay home and protect your kids. Protect your home and protect your kids, but at least let Rick know where you are. Rashida said Rick wouldn't let her go, but Rick can't stop Michonne if Michonne wants to go anywhere. But you know, at least he could try to talk some sense into her. I would love that because she needs some common sense right now. Common sense is not coming right here for plot point purposes. Yeah, Michael Satrazemis directed it, but he didn't write it. So this is on the writers. He has to direct what the writing says, unlike some with Nicotera who tries to add his little commentary by trying to use visual media to give motives to characters, but here in this I don't see Michael trying to influence the characters. He's just directing what the writers are. This is a writing issue, not a directing issue. Versus in No Way Out with Nicotera trying to add certain things in the edit, certain moods and certain flashbacks in the edit that were not in the script. That's the director trying to influence the writing. This, the director isn't. So I don't blame him for this. This is totally a writing issue. But thanks for letting me know who directed the episode, Rashida. Let's go on. Rick left with Morgan. Shoot, stupid. And watch this dumb dumb in that spiked car. Who? Yes, Constant. Mike, Mike, Michael. I want to pronounce his name properly. Satrazemus is one of the directors of The Ones Who Live. He directed the episode that Denai wrote. See, episode 4. Yes. So here she is confronting a van full of men, and of course she's going to be the, kill off all these men. Like, really? So stupid. I just, yes. Danai loved working with Michael. He's a good director. He was a cinematographer at first, I think.
And a knife for the dead ones, nothing else.
No. You got information. Like where you're from, where you're going. Oh, come on. It's a lonely world. Let's get to know each other. I'm here. Your turn.
Nobody, really. Nancy from Montclair. But I've bounced around a lot since then. I keep moving. Not really from anywhere. I'm not really going anywhere.
Well, at least we agree on one thing, Nancy from Montclair. You're not going anywhere. But you do seem like you're from somewhere. After Montclair, right? Miles, what's that place called? The gated one. 12.75 clicks down.
Alexandria.
Yeah, Alexandria. You know, they got some cars out front, spikes through them. Just like the one you're driving. A woman like you, no weapons, no protection, no clue. You really shouldn't be out here alone. You know, we were just on our way to your place. We can give you a ride back. Maybe they'll let us in if you're with us.
She's having a panic attack.
It doesn't have to be this way. You can turn back and you can go home. Nobody has to get hurt.
looking like someone's got to get hurt. Man, why don't you just grab her before she passes out? Joe, please!
That was so dumb. I'm sorry. That was so dumb. And you hear the machine go click, 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 click. That was stupid. Hold on. So, what did you guys say? Writer, the scene with Carol and the saviors in a truck. So this is why I got so frustrated with this character. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I disagree with you, Constant. Constant said, as Rashida said, yes, Sherry. Constance said, this is the only time Carol's abilities seemed realistic, to be honest. Her best organic self is when she pretends to be more meek than she is and surprise attacks. She had to play meek and manipulate. This to me, yeah, but they're trying to say, oh, that, she meeks and then she a surprise attack and she's such a badass and killer that, this is what she does. And that's why they had to take her out of it because she would have taken care of Negan because she would have fooled him and whatever. Trust me, all of that is just, none of it is believable to me, Constant. And I remember watching The Walking Dead back then. I was, as I told you, I didn't hate Carol. I just, I liked Carol up to the point in Alexandria. I sort of, it was getting ridiculous with her, but I was still on board with the character. And then when the Sam thing happened, I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I noticed the writers kept trying and having characters say, just hyping the character up and just it got too ridiculous to me, and I was just turned off from the character. But on this second watch, I realized that a lot of the things I did not like about the character in the latter season, the character always had those characteristics. I just wasn't paying enough attention to her to see it, that she was not a really nice person. She was a very self-absorbed individual. So I was just like, oh, forget it. But that's fine. That's a characterization and it can work for the story. But where it turned for me, where the character doesn't work for me, is that the writers were trying to they they were trying to make the audience hail and praise this character who had such really terrible character, well, not terrible, they this is not a likable person. This is not a person to want on your team, and a person that you would want people to morally support, because this was a selfish individual. So they wanted to disregard all of that and just they created a Mary Sue. Incels love to call every female character in shows and movies a Mary Sue because they're misogynistic and they don't want female characters to be leading. So every time a female character is a lead or has certain abilities, they're like, oh, they're making her to a Mary Sue, that she can do everything and she can be the worst person, but yet everyone and every character has to love her and the writers hype her up and push her regardless. Well, Carol is the Mary Sue. She's the definition of a Mary Sue, where she doesn't naturally or organically have the abilities, the badassery and the warrior characteristics, but they write to say she does and have other characters say she does when there's no physical evidence of it. It didn't come organically. And then the true nature of her, the manipulation, the selfishness, which are the true nature, they try to subvert that into something good and prick and want the praise for it. So it's like how they do with Negan. Negan is a morally corrupt person. He enslaves people, and he, cheats on his wife and rapes his wives, um and forces people to sleep with him by withholding medicine and all of these things. And yet the writers keep trying to put that as something aspirational and good, and try to make him into an anti-hero. So it's the same thing that they do with Carol. They take characteristics which responsible writing would have us root against the character for, but they try to twist it and make it rootable values. So immoral characteristics like what Negan has, and they're trying to get the audience to back him, and then they actually harm other characters, like try to make other characters make bad choices to look bad so that Negan can look good. It's the same thing that they did with Carol. And so it really pissed me off. And how they actually try to diminish other characters to prop her up. And it's not worth it, because all the telling they're doing and not showing, and then trying to do, because they know she doesn't have the physicality or anything to do to fight or whatever. They do these ridiculous stuff like the gun in the sleeves, which is not organic. It's not believable. The gun would blow off her hand or burn it, the gunpowder. It just, none of it is believable. It's not physically feasible, and it makes the show ridiculous, and they don't care. They're sacrificing other characters. They're sacrificing the show to prop this character up. And it's the same thing they did with Negan. And even when the ratings plummeted and continue to plummet, they didn't care. They just kept trying to prop this character and destroy the show, destroy other characters. So that's why I cannot tolerate Negan and I cannot tolerate Carol, because they are in the show and they're being propped in the show at the detriment of the show and the detriment of other characters. So yeah. um Constance said, "Oh no, I never thought she was some mystical badass fighter like they keep positioning her to be." Yeah, it's just false hype. It's just, it doesn't connect except with her fans, but it doesn't connect. And to show you how it really doesn't connect, and that a lot of the hype was coming from a small minority, is that when they did episodes just focused on her, the ratings plummeted. They tried to give her the credit for season 5 episode 1 having such great ratings, and then they kept focusing on her. As I was like, look how much time they're spending focusing on this one character who is not a main character in either the comics or should be a main character in the show, but they were just pushing her so hard. Is because with the and I keep saying this, the the praise and the love for episode 5-1 is because fans were so worried. They were so worried that one of the characters were going to die at terminus. And the relief that they felt, the relief, like what was going to happen next, that's why so many people tuned. And the relief that they got out, that's where the hype came from. But her fans kept pushing. Oh, it's because of her, she saved everybody, and everybody, it became the highest rated episode because it was about her. But latter episodes proved that scenario wrong. And even the writers bought into that hype because they kept pushing her and focusing on her. But then when the ensemble was pulled away and they focused on it, what they made it clear it was just her episode or her and Daryl together. Oh my gosh, the ratings plummeted. So it's just the fact that the writers or the showrunners or execs were buying into that baloney, yet the evidence was there to show them that this character and what they're doing with her is not working, but they just didn't want to they just didn't want to accept what was right in front of them. Just like with Negan, the majority of the Walking Dead audience are not Negan fans. And ratings upon ratings tells them, but they don't want to see it. They don't want to accept it. So, and then look what happened with the Daryl Dixon show. You know, the first season, as I said, it's the same thing that happened with Dead City. They were interested to see if either of those shows would mention or tie to Rick's story. And when they got the answer from season one, um, the ratings went down for their subsequent season. And then what did not help is then when Rick's story actualized, they were like, oh, okay, so we got our answer. And then the ratings just, I mean, dived, dived. Just it was over for those other shows. And then subsequently for Daryl's show when Carol came in, yeah, you know, if she is the character everybody wants and loves, why is it whenever she's featured or, you know, ratings plummet? Because I wasn't the only one when The Walking Dead first aired. All my friends, they stopped watching the show. And one of the refrains, one, they couldn't stand the Negan storyline. And two, they couldn't stand Carol. And that seems that's all the writers wanted to focus on, you know? So it was just like people I knew just couldn't stand to watch what was happening to the show. So let's see. Yes, Constance said, I never thought she was some mystical badass fighter like they keep positioning her to be. Rashida says, I never bought it either. Carol, super meek woman. Diane says they had already written this middle-aged, slight woman to be some kind of killing machine. She said she didn't want to kill, but she never stopped. Right, Diane. uh, and the physicality doesn't match what they're trying to portray her as. That's one of the issue. It's not authentic. It looks ridiculous. You know, people said Shiva was ridiculous. Well, this was even more ridiculous, you know. Um, Sherry says, yes, Nadine, that's why the character is so awful to me. So you see it, Sherry. Okay. Constance says, we saw the meekness only around with her abusive husband and with the other men, especially about the woman in the group in the beginning, until she thought she was a badass. Then her real self came out. She's always been selfish, even when she was being meek. It was all about her because her daughter, there was issues, there was a possibility there that she thought that her husband was abusing her daughter, and yet she was willing to continue having her daughter around him. So I don't buy her that she, you know, she's just a selfish human being because she was looking out for herself. Because if she was looking out for her daughter, she would leave that man regardless. You know, yes, it would be, you know, she would have to try to survive for her and her daughter. But if you're the man in your life is abusing, or is there even a thought that the man in your life is sexually abusing your daughter, there's nothing that would keep me from getting my daughter out of that situation. And she stayed because she didn't think she could take care of herself and her daughter, yet so she thinks the best solution would be to let him sexually abuse her. Says she's a selfish woman. Sherry says, can't stand Carol. You know I had to say it. Rashida says, to this day, Carol still has fans that that she took down Terminus herself. Yeah, there, as I said, not a lot of people are media literate. So, you can see everything before your eyes and they will interpret something else. So, um, Constance says, I agree with Nadine about both characters and how they pulled away from every other character for Carol's super soldier BS. And I've been screaming this about Negan since I first watched the series. Yes, Constant. It's just they torpedo the show for these two people, and it just makes no sense because they're not worth it. These characters are not worth it. I'm not talking about the actors. I'm talking about the characters. The characters are not worth it. And they keep proving over and over that the characters are not worth it because the ratings does not support the investment in these characters. Diane says Michael Slovis directed episode 4. So it wasn't Michael, um it was not Michael, how do you pronounce his last name? It was Michael Slovis. So it's a different Michael. Okay. Thank you for that factoid, Diane. Constance says he's not an anti-hero, and I couldn't see how people didn't see him as a pure villain he is. Yeah, it's sad his wife died, but okay, who's hadn't exactly. And also the story, I didn't watch his episode, but the story that I heard about his wife was that he was cheating on his wife. His wife was dying of cancer, and he was being his usual narcissistic, self absorbed self. He cheated on her. So I don't know what the issue is, how. Again, this is a character that we are supposed to rally behind, and if this is what the writers keep saying, and the executives, the producers, if we were started a journey with Negan versus Rick, we would have been on Negan's side. I was like, hell no. The Walking Dead would have started and ended after uh the pilot episode. Because that's what I'm trying to say. There's like, they don't understand that some viewers have some moral integrity and don't want to watch or support or rally behind fascists or, people who are morally corrupt and bankrupt. They don't seem to understand that. So I sort of understand why our world is the way it is, but they think that this character is what we would support and rally behind. I was like, heck no. Rashida said Carol's only good fight was with when she fought Mary in Terminus. That was the only authentic fight Carol has, because that's her speed, that woman, and they were rolling around on the ground together, right? That was an authentic fight. But they try, and that's who are that type of opponent she should be having. But this, what they're doing, it's ridiculous, having her constantly putting her up against these men, and having her, the one that really got that had me busting out laughing was when the savior at the bridge, the camp, and she swiped at his foot. She was like a mile away from him and swiped at his feet, and that was supposed to disarm him. I was like, are you serious? It's just it got more ridiculous. But when I saw this with the machine gun in her sleeve and came out and her arm was still operational. I'm like, are you kidding me? And Rashida is letting me know Negan cheated on his wife with her best friend. I didn't even know that, right? And that's the man that we, the Walking Dead fans, were gonna rally behind and love, and not and look at Rick as the wrong one, and rally behind Negan. These people, it tells me, it was like the people. Do you have any more, um moral integrity? It tells me their values, where they think this guy is who we would rally behind. So it was Cam J that said, revealed that Negan cheated on his wife with her best friend. Thanks for that factoid, Cam J. It's just wow, it gets even worse. Constance said, yeah, I actually like the episode of Negan's episode because it showed you who he was never, or he was always SHIT. We would not have rooted for him. Exactly. I'm like, really? Sherry says that whole Negan storyline went on too long. At first it made for a good story arc, but took it tarried far too long for me. Yeah. That's when The Walking Dead, the introduction of Negan and the gratuitous killing of Glenn. Yes, it was in the comic, but this is a TV show. And they took too much glee, and it was too graphic. And again, the glee in it. This is someone beloved to the fans. And the glee that they took in it, they thought, oh my gosh, this, because they were thinking again from that mindset. It tells me, I told you, the comic, it tells me that the way it was written, it revealed that sort of immature incel, like masochistic uh a viewpoint. It was just like, the person who loved Negan because he made fart and penis joke and stupid jokes. It's like, that. So it told me the mindset. So to see that mindset carried on with the producers of The Walking Dead, because they thought people would love and embrace Negan like how the comic writer loved Negan. Negan is his favorite character, and how he loved, the comic book readers loved this personality. So they loved that personality and thought the audience, but the majority of people do not see that as aspirational or good or funny or entertaining. That cruel, fascist, you know, oppressive type of personality. That's not what is aspirational. That's not what is good. That's not what is that, so it tells me their mindset. And it and there's some delusion to that, to it too, because of how they they continue even when the ratings are telling them that people are not responding to this. Instead of hearing the audience and saying, okay, this character needs to go now, it's not working, for our audience. Instead, they attempt to destroy the other characters in an attempt to, um, switch allegiance from the character that people embrace, and give it to the character that they already reject, but the producers and writers embrace. So they muddy the waters, dump on the characters that people love and embrace, and try to make them propagandize the characters they want to stick around. It's just, it was it was just, there was no longer any organic and storytelling like the season 1 through the latter part of to the beginning of season 5. Signature no longer there. It was about plot point, shock value, um you know trying to use the characters as tools to get people to back the characters that the show wanted them to back, and just having other characters service other characters. And it was just, there was just the writing, and the show was just full of agenda. And the Walking Dead just was not the Walking Dead of the early seasons. No, it was no longer that show. It was it was a huge malpractice, very, they destroyed the show. They destroyed their own show. So Rashida says, remember the people who rang the comics were in middle school and high school and among 20-year-old men. Sherry says Glenn's death was horrific. Constance said, yep, Rashida, immature as hell. And so was, the writing. The writing was very immature, and it appealed to an incel crowd. So, Negan is a hero for incels. Yeah. So, okay, let's continue the episode. Just he would have heard that. Her choo 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 choo. He would have heard that. Her scurrying there, and he's like, "Oh, where could she be? Really?" You heard the glass on the ground, and her
See you. Come out. Slowly. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass on that.
I don't like seeing the blood seep on into the ground. It's just, yeah. This constant,
Hey. Hey. You look tired. So I have a lot to do.
bloodshed is not good to keep watching stuff like that. It's just not good.
Can't get an extra shift. Just picking a lunch before I go back out. See you later. Where are you going? Take your shift while you rest. Enid. Just for a few hours. Let me help. Put up your feet and eat some pickles.
Morgan and Rick. Yes, you didn't have to go, Rick.
Even if it's a long shot.
No, you don't have to try. Not, no. Mm-mm. I disagree with Rick.
Go east. Savior's compound, the you and the was west. Seems like she went east. You don't even know
Why?
What I believe, I'm not right. There is no right. It's just the wrong that doesn't pull you down.
At least Morgan
As
acknowledges he's not right.
I think it will. Because I know you.
Are these guys saviors?
Just let it go, man. Just let go. There. I see it.
That's her car.
Constance said, yeah, a lot of them are still immature. Remember that the creator of the comic said he thought about putting Michonne and Rick together. Oh, he thought about putting Rick and Michonne together, but decided not to in the end. We all knew it was because he didn't want to upset the racist in his fan base. Yep. Yeah. So they are saviors, Rashida. Okay. Hi, MH.
See her?
No. Where is she?
Saviors were getting weapons from the hilltops, blacksmith. These men were saviors.
Oh, so Rick said they were saviors.
There's blood here.
There's blood here. Hello. Obvious much, Morgan.
I'm proud of her.
How's that?
She took 4 of them down. That woman, she's a force of nature.
She left because she can't anymore. That's what her letter said.
She could because she had to. Sometimes you have to.
More blood. Opposite these men. It leads into the field. It's a trail. Could be Carol's. She could still be alive. She's not here.
Most of their guns are gone. She
Might have taken her, those two. Or she could have died here. Even if she isn't here. Trail goes this way. They were close to Alexandria. There's even more of them. We didn't end it. No. We started something.
No, he didn't start it. Morgan is saying, Rick said there's more of them. They were close to Alexandria. So it didn't end, I guess at the outpost. And Morgan is saying, no, you didn't end it. You started something. Rick didn't start it. And I hate, that's another thing how the writers kept trying to give uh, Negan the moral right for the attack and enslavement of Alexandria by saying that Rick started it, started the war. And again, not even the writers are just writing what they want the audience to believe instead of what they wrote, instead of what they showed in the show. The, the savior started the war against Rick's group when they tried to kill Abraham, Sasha, and Daryl. They just were not successful at killing them. But Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham were successful at defending themselves, right? So then you have the retaliation, Rick trying to stop them before they became even more of a threat. And the fault, as we went over this many times, was that Rick didn't do enough recognizance, and he took Paul's word for it when he should have investigated himself. As he see now, there's a lot more to them and the type of men that they are. So he should get his butt home, right? Actually, the person he should be looking for is his wife, and get his butt home, get her home, get Michonne and Glenn home, and have them stop chasing after Daryl, and he should stop chasing after Carol, right? But if Morgan wants to go, he's a grown-ass man, he can go look for Carol if he wants. But Rick shouldn't be wasting his time looking for this woman. She wasn't kidnapped. She left on her own. So he needs to get his woman and go home, and he needs to get his little brother Glenn and go home. It's just tease me off. Constance said also one last thing was how he and Robert Kirkman, I'm thinking you're referring to, wrote Michonne's love life and what the governor did to her. I don't know if any other woman was treated this way in the comics or not. No. The writing against for Michonne was very misogynistic and very racist. Very. Rashida said no other woman was treated like that, not even Andrea during the fight in the tower in the comics. Exactly. And they did the tower fight for Michonne in the show, and the way they brutalized Michonne. And then we see the way they brutalized Michonne when she was fighting the governor, the way they brutalized Michonne when they had her what would you call it, branded and beaten while pregnant, and had her having to kill so many kids. The writing for Michonne in the comics and the writing for Michonne in the show has been very misogynistic and very racist. Very. These writers were hella biased, I'm telling you. Oh yeah, the what Robert Kirkman had the governor do to Michonne was just, it was beyond disgusting. It was, I'm like, where did he come up with that? It's just, I mean, it's like, not even, you're the imaginings for him to think of one of the worst things you could do to a woman. But even so, it got animalistic. It was so racist. It was so misogynistic. It was so disgusting. And it was just, eh, yeah. Mm-mm. I don't, let's not dwell on it. Let's continue this episode. Oh my goodness, that walker is chowing down. We like the show. I like the show, as I said, seasons 1 through 5. It's the first part of season 5 when they were still on the road before they got into Alexandria. The writing was organic. And when I say organic, it was really about what people face, how we as human beings, who we really are when the masks are down. Like, when there are no laws, there's no society, there's no one to really answer to, no accountability. Who would we be? So the setting of the show, the apocalypse, the um, dissolution of society, the devolvement, and then the breakdown. There's no law, there's no order, there's no one we have to answer to. How would we react and be? Who would we be as human beings, right? And then on top of it, we had the POV of a man who was a decent man, Rick Grimes, a decent man who woke up to this horror. So it was shocking. It was interesting. It made us want to see, wow, it made you think, what would you do, and what would he do next? And then to find out he had we know he had a family, and then where are his family? Will he find his family? So we were invested in Rick Grimes. We had to be. If we weren't invested, if it was if it was a Negan, we would not be invested. If it was a Carol, knowing that her daughter, suspecting that her daughter was being sexually abused, or her husband wants to sexually abuse her daughter and she's not doing anything about it, we would not be invested. So it was Rick Grimes, who he was, and the world he woke up into, and the possibilities that got us invested. And then as it went on, the character drama, especially the drama between Rick, Shane, and Laurie, it was so it was like, oh my gosh, what is he gonna do? Is she gonna tell him? It was shocking. It was interesting. It made us curious. And it was human drama. It wasn't really about the zombie. It was human drama. What would Rick do? We were invested. We wanted him to survive. We wanted him to find his family. Then we found out his wife betrayed him, and we wanted him to come from under that betrayal. So that's what gripped us. And then we met Michonne, and then She was such a stoic character, but she had such a integrity. She was smart, she was strong, and she was, you know, loyal. And she was smart. You picked it up right away. And she was a badass with that katana. So that intrigued us. And then the meeting up, would she, because she her meeting up with Andrea. So we're like, oh my gosh, will Andrea find back the group? And will the group, Michonne, become a part of that group? So we got, the investment got deeper and deeper. And then again, Rick Grimes, Andy's portrayal of Rick Grimes kept us, you know, rooting for him. And then we met wonderful characters like Herschel, which made us, Herschel was like the moral compass, and and fighting for humanity and all of that. So there were aspirational aspects to the story, where right was right and wrong was wrong, and they didn't have us rooting for people that were degenerates, right? And so, yeah, the audience went along with that. And it was a ride. It was a wonderful character driven ride. And then Michonne and Rick met. And that's what kept me going. Because I was, I loved the show and I was with it in it for Rick Grimes. And then I loved Herschel. And then the supporting characters helped buoy up that also. And then Michonne came in, and then I loved Rick, and then immediately was behind this badass, strong, integral, full of integrity character, Michonne. How she clocked the governor right away. So, and then they met, and it was sparks. And then I got even more invested in the Rick and Michonne story. And then they blew it all up in season 6 with terrible writing. I don't know what changed. The writing room changed. Something in the writing room changed. It made no sense what they were doing. So
Where she died.
So you had to start from here.
Daryl's bike.
Which way did Dwight run? Rosita.
Just let him do this.
He doesn't know what he's doing. We don't. Maybe him trying this makes you feel better about it right now. Maybe they keep knowing more about us than we know about them. Or maybe Daryl's gonna get himself killed.
So let him get himself killed. You have a wife and a baby to take care of. Go home. How does Daryl think he can take on so many men by himself? So dumb.
Watch the hell out, asshole.
Yeah, I did. You shouldn't have come.
You shouldn't have left.
When I split off from Sautry and Abraham, he was out there in the woods, and that burnout force of them girls put a gun to my head. Tied me up. I even tried to help him. So you think it's your fault? Yeah, I know it is. Do what I should have done before. for her. She's gone, man. You're doing this for you.
Yes, you're doing it for you.
I don't give a shit. Daryl,
He doesn't give a look who is talking to him, and look,
we need to get back there and figure this out from home. Our home.
look who's trying to talk sense into him, and look who is gonna get killed because no sense went in.
It's gonna go wrong out here. We'll square it. I will. I promise you.
Go home, Michonne, but you'll square it. Go home.
I can't.
Stupid.
Man, I can't.
Let him go. Go home.
I can't either.
Thing is, I was meant to be back in Alexandria right now.
Right. So why are you here?
I hope not. We need them alive. Maybe find out more. Yeah, you do. We just got stuck with each other. We were lucky. Figured it all out together. I felt like we did. After everything we did. Well, it's not what we thought it was. Hilltop to Savers is bigger. Hi.
Rick, go home. I know what he's doing. Diane says Andrew Lincoln agrees with you. He said he hated it when they got to Alexandria. He's right.
It's not much. But if it's Carol's, then she's been bleeding for a while.
Sherry said the love story that is Rashon. That's what got us watching. Sherry said she watched in reverse. Constance said yes. The term you're probably looking for, Nadine, is misogynoir. Yes, that's the term. Thank you for that word, Constant. It's perfect. A specific hatred, prejudice, and discrimination towards black women. Misogynoir. How they made her overly strong to the point she doesn't get to be human. Just like you were saying in one of the last lives, Michonne, at least in the show, never got empathy or sympathy or the benefit of the doubt. She never got to make the same mistakes. Exactly. Misogynoir. And as Diane said, and I'm going to repeat it, Andrew Lincoln agrees. He said he hated it when they got to Alexandria. Constant, Rashida says Constant is right. Laurie made tons of mistakes. Carol made mistakes. Maggie made mistakes, but Michonne had to stay a saint. Even when she was a saint, they disparaged her. Denai had to have Michonne speak softly all the times and not raise her voice. She got to do that in The Ones Who Lives. In her episode that she wrote, she got to raise her voice in an argument with Rick because she was free to do that. You know, she was free to write Michonne as a woman, just a woman. a real human being who had felt emotions, felt anger, felt despair, disappointment, felt all the emotions that a human feels without people disparaging her for it. Emotions that all the other characters get to do every episode over and over. Carol's constant whimpering and crying, and and selfishness and doing what she wants for her sake. Who cares about the group? And everybody, oh, poor Carol. Yet Michonne can get beaten to a pulp as a pregnant woman, branded, her child kidnapped, and go and rescue other people's children, and people still disparage her. And it's like, what the hell is wrong with her? Yeah, misogynoir. Thank you, Constant. MH says, wasn't season 6 the season Rick and Michonne got together? Yes, MH, but and the way it was done, it wasn't ideal in my opinion, and it should have been done earlier. It should have been done in season 5, and I cannot stand it. And it's not because Rick and Michonne got together. That's the only thing about it that I really liked. But I didn't even like how it was done. It could have been done way better, right? But the way they wrote it, it was another plot point. It was to have people shocked, like, oh, you expect one thing, oh, this is what's gonna happen. He's instead of, they weren't writing for the character, they were writing to just shock the character, not shock the character, shock the audience, and not care about how it happened. They didn't have Rick and Michonne talk. They didn't have Rick and Carl talk. They didn't have Michonne and Carl talk. They just did it, and did it in a way to get to surprise the audience and then move on. And it was just, there's a lot that was undesirable about the writing for season 6 onwards. And as I think the writing room changed. Rick and Michonne were always planned, but how it was done and the season it was done in the worst written season, it just teed me off. Rashida said that was why it's such a successful spin-off, The Ones Who Live. Exactly, because you had The Ones Who Live had writers who were invested in the characters, like how the writers were invested in the characters in the early seasons of The Walking Dead. So when you're invested in the characters and the story, usually you get organic character driven storytelling. That was not, season 6 onward was not character driven storytelling. You'd have moments here and there, but it was not. It was plot points and agendas and shock value, and that's why they killed they filmed Glenn's death in such a way that lost them half of the audience immediately. Cam J said, I just learned a new word, coined by Moya Bailey. Who is Moya Bailey, Cam J? Rashida says, I wasn't crazy about the screwball comedy with Rick, Daryl, and Jesus to get Ricky Michonne union. And that wasn't about Rick and Michonne. It was the writer's favorite character was Daryl. So it was about giving Daryl and Rick a story and introducing Jesus. And they just, how the showrunner says like what's his name was the showrunner at the time. Gimple was still a showrunner, and he would have given the directive of what has to happen in the season. And then the writing room breaks down what episode certain events had to happen. Like, say Rick and Michonne get together, the Anderson family dies, blah, 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 blah. Then the writing room have to sit and break down the episodes to, okay, let's do this in that episode, that in that episode, that in that episode, that to get to the point where the showrunner says they want to get to, which is the introduction of the saviors and Negan and all of that. So, and they would have broken it down to mid-season finale. Anderson family dies, and then Rashon becomes a couple in the latter half of the season, and we lead up to the introduction of Negan and the death of Glenn, whatever. So the writers break it down on a macro level, then they break it down and say, okay, this is what would happen in episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then writers are assigned to the episode. So the writers know, okay, in episode 1, this have certain plot points have to happen, and then the writer assigned to that episode, or sometimes there are two writers assigned to the episode, they would then come up with a way, a storyline that covers what they have to cover in that episode, but also has to tie in with the rest or lead into the rest of the episodes. So the writer who was Angela Kang for episode 10, Rishon's episode, she was assigned that episode, and her favorite character is Daryl. And so, and to me, I don't think she's a fan of Michonne, which is not surprising. A lot of people of color don't like black people. So, she, just because she's a person of color doesn't mean that she empathizes or sympathizes or even likes the character of Michonne. So I just don't know. The way she wrote that episode is, to me, as a writer, I'm not saying I'm a better writer. She's more successful in the terms of worldly success, because she, got to write for a hit television show, and she show ran a hit television show for a season or so or two. So she's an accomplished writer. But I think I'm a very talented writer, and I don't think that she did a good episode. She did a good job on the episode for Michonne or even Rick. Um, so it to me, it's it could have been better. It could have been much, much better. It could have been beneficial for Michonne, instead of it could have solidified Rick and Michonne even more with what was already written for them in season 5. It could have, it was a home run for us because we loved them, and we were, season 5 and 4 already gave them such a good foundation. Season 3, it's 4 and 5 gave them such a good foundation that it was hard. It would be hard to mess up Rick and Michonne. So she had an easy job, but she could have done a better job. And she did her job. She got them together in the episode, which any of the writers could have done. But look at what she does versus what Denai did in The Ones Who Live. That was the writing that Denai did was a masterclass. And it was obvious that the writer cared about Rick and the writer cared about Michonne. I didn't get that sense in season 6, episode 10. So you want to see the difference of a writer that cares about a couple and their relationship, and not only the couple and their relationship, but care about the characters in the relationship. You see, look at what Denai wrote. Then you see a writing for characters and a couple. We got to understand what was going through the couples here, and here. We understood what the characters felt. We understood their motives. We understood where they were coming from. So we understood, and we didn't have to question how they felt about each other. We didn't have to question what was going on with them as people and as a couple. Watch 610 and see if you can you get those answers, and if you weren't left with a lot of questions. The foundation of Rick and Michonne and Andy and Denai saved Michonne. They succeeded in spite of the writers in season 6 onward. In spite of.
So you out here because Carol is your friend?
I'm out here. She's my family.
I've talked to people back there. I found out about what happened at the prison. Now you sent her away. You killed 2 of your people, right? Burned their bodies. What if that had happened today? Would you kill her?
If it happened today, I'd thank her. Or I would have killed her myself.
You see, again, look at how they just sacrificed Rick's character. Morgan asked and said, if Carol had killed people at I found out what Carol did at the prison and you sent her away. If it happened today, would you do the same thing, or would you kill her? And Rick said, I would thank her and I would kill them myself. That's a lie. The writers are making Rick into a liar. Not that they're not making Rick lie. They actually wrote to Rick to believe, to be this person and say that. It's not like when he's lying to what's that woman, the one that the Anderson woman that died, or when he's just he was lying, period, to Deanna about, oh yeah, I'll be the constable and look about whatever. It's not that. It's not that they wrote him to lie because that's a part of the the plot. No, they're actually making Rick be not Rick. They're changing his character to boost Carol. So for him to say he would thank her for killing David and Karen, and he would kill David and Carol, that's not Rick Grimes. And that's not who Rick Grimes. So they're changing Rick to justify Carol's crime. So they're saying Rick was the one that's wrong, And he's acknowledging he's the one that's wrong and Carol was always right. So in essence, they're again sacrificing the pivotal character, the character that has everyone in that majority of audience, the viewers are invested in, and who made them invest in The Walking Dead. They're destroying his character to prop a non-essential character, Carol. And one of the reasons they're doing this is because Andy had already given his notice. Andy had already told the Scott Gimple that he would be leaving The Walking Dead. So they're trying to find characters to replace Rick Grimes. So they had no qualms in destroying Rick to prop who they think the audience would be rooting for him behind. And again, I tell you, they got a false premise of who the audience are invested in The Walking Dead because of Terminus. That episode, was it 5-1 or yeah, episode 5-1, where they thought just because people were so on tender hooks, if Rick and Glenn and Daryl would get out of the killing trial, the slaughterhouse, people were so anxious that they just, the relief they felt, they thought that relief, that celebration, that ratings was because of Carol, and it was not. And because of that, they kept pushing and forcing this character. And look at that, they're destroying Rick Grimes because they know Rick Grimes is leaving soon. They're destroying Rick Grimes in the hopes that Carol and also Daryl and Negan would take over the show. So instead of organically writing it true to form, where Rick would say, no, I wouldn't do the same thing again. I wouldn't exile her, but what she did was wrong. Morgan, they're trying to have a conversation of extremes with Morgan and trying to same, to equalize actions, and everyone know again, and that's the issue with Morgan. Things are not black and white, and everything has to be put in context. But what they had Rick said pissed me off so much. I wanted to I was almost done with The Walking Dead. I think after this episode, I probably just watched Rick and Michonne's scene. That's why I just, it seems that, and it could not, maybe it's not even seem. I'm so negative once it got to season 6 because that's what made me stop watching. I just watched Rick and Michonne's episode, and then when Rick left, I just watched Michonne's episode, and not even all of those, because she was barely in so many episodes. So, and then when she left, it was over for me, because that I went over it enough, but about the sorry ass writing. But this is character assassination, to have Rick say that, because it's not true of Rick Grimes. It was just, they had him say it because they're trying to make Rick wrong and Carol right. Because what she did to David and Karen damaged her character a lot. She, a lot of people weren't here for her. So what's another way to get people on side her is to have Rick Grimes state that she's right and he's wrong. So make her immoral, her wrong, immoral actions moral, and make his moral reaction immoral. And they do it all the time, just like with Negan. They made Rick, they wrote an episode of Rick being very not Rick Grimes, killing some saviors after he promised them not to kill them, and then to say, see, Rick is no different. So I know, and they're like, oh, Negan would never do that. So it's destroying one character where that has a lot of support, projecting their actions onto, putting their actions in a bad light to put the bad actions of the character they want us to support in a good light. And that's not good writing. And that's what The Walking Dead was doing a lot of.
She was right to do it.
After season 6.
There were 6
Exactly.
predators that weren't gonna make it.
Especially, what did you guys says? Especially, Sherry says, especially when we got to the ones who live. Just imagine if we had these writers for 6 to 10. Missed opportunity. Whew, what a different show it would be. And it probably, it would be, I don't know if it would, I don't know if it would still be around, because Andy Lincoln would still be gone, and Denai would still gone, and Andrew Lincoln is The Walking Dead, but it would have ended on such a high note. Yeah, a much higher note than it did. Okay, so she created the word misogynoir. Cam J said, okay. Sherry said, who has the final say so to an episode? The writers, the showrunner, or the actors? The actors have no say. The actors never has a say unless they're like a big deal where they can, if they make a ruckus or, demand to leave the show or whatever, they can actually affect, end the show. But the ones with the say for, it's usually the showrunner. But if the executives have interest, like I'm sure there's some AMC executives that they wanted, they're the ones that keep pushing for Negan. Robert Negan is Robert Kirkman's favorite character, so I'm sure he loves him. But the AMC execs love them some Jeffrey Deegan and Negan, and they're destroying their biggest show for this character and actor. So the execs have the final say. The executives of the studio, the network, have the final say. But a lot of studio networks don't really interfere that much. They do a lot with movies, but for TV shows, yeah, some of them mostly leave it to the producers and the showrunner. But it's the exec has the is the top dog. Then you have the producers, the executive producers, the network or the studio has the final say. And below that, the next people in power, the executive producers have the say. Only the studio or the network is above them. Then underneath the producers, the executive producers, you have the showrunner. So the showrunner then has the say. Then the writing room, the showrunner is in charge of the writing room. So the writing room has to do what the showrunner says. But some showrunners are, as long as they follow the outline that they want to get from point A to point B, they don't really care what the writers room do in the episodes. As long as you hit this beat, Rick and Michonne, Anderson family dies, Carl's eyes get shot out, Negan is introduced. So those, then the writers in the writers room have leeway in how to get to those points. So, and some showrunners are not picky in the sense of it's like, no, I don't, don't do that. Some are very involved. they're very involved. There's like, I don't like that, don't do this. But some are like, to the writers, you do you, just as long as his eyes get shot out, just as long her hand gets chopped off, and the kid dies and everybody dies and his eyes shot out, do whatever you want. So yeah, so as long as they hit certain beats, so the showrunner is involved and the writers, but then the person with the least say is the actor. They get the script and they have to act what the script say. Some actors are powerful enough to make suggestion. And when I say powerful enough, they have a relationship with the writers and the showrunner where they can say, I don't think my character would make this choice. But then, the director, the writer, then the director, the actor can go to the director and say, I don't think then the director would speak to the writer, because the writer is usually on set for the episode. So the writer that writes that episode, they're in Video Village. They sit in Video Village. Video Village has the director, the cinema. Sometimes, mostly the cinematographer and the first AD are on set all the time, but sometimes the cinematographers sit with the director, and then you have the script supervisor, and you have those are the people usually sitting in Video Village watching the monitors as the scene is being acted out. So they watch the monitor to see how it's going to look on television or on the big screen. So, and they have their their earpieces and sometimes a mic, and they call out and say, no, 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 no. The director will say to the AD, no, 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 have him do this, have him do that. Or the director gets up and go to the set and talk to the actor and said, I didn't like how that looked, let's do it over, or whatever. But the actor can say, I don't think my character would say this or do this, but they're like, that's in the script. And then they call the writer over and said, my character wouldn't say that. And the writer would say, well, you know, I agree with you. Let me see if I can change something. I have to get in touch with the showrunner. Or, yeah, I think I can change that because it doesn't change the plot point that much. But sometimes, they said, no, we can't change it. You just have to go with it. Sometimes the actor get upset, but does it. But then the number ones, like the actors with power who are not afraid if they get fired, they'll never work in Hollywood again. Those are like the Andes and stuff. They can challenge. Norman would challenge because he knows AMC loves him. And, Jeffrey D. Morgan has a lot of power because the execs love him. So they may challenge, then, as we have an incident with Denai challenge Nicotero because he kept telling her to redo the scene. She was flirting too much in the scene. And she was like, what? She was flirting with Rick when Rick came to her when she was brushing her teeth because he was waiting for her, and counting how much seconds she was or minutes she was in the bathroom. Hello? I mean, hello? And he's saying, no, I don't want to see any flirt because he didn't want Rick and Michonne together. He wanted Rick with Jesse, right? And he was going to push the Jesse and Rick with his directing to be more romantic, more a romance than it was. So he didn't like that Rick and Michonne were showing feelings when that was the story. So there was a director who was putting his feelings in his directing. And because of his misogyny. And Michonne, not Michonne, Denai stood up for her character and said, I disagree with you. This is the take. This is what Michonne is feeling, in a sense that they are happy. They are, and whatever explanation she gave to him. And she did, she said she and Andy were getting very frustrated because he kept having them do take after take after take. They were very frustrated. And then he went into the editing. Sometimes, some directors don't edit, some sit in the editing booth beside the editor, and some edit themselves. And so he said when he was going over the editing, the take that he disliked and argued with, the first take he disliked and argued with Danai, he realized that was the take. So Danai was wrong. No, sorry. So he was wrong. Danai was right. That's what he said. So yes, some actors do challenge the director, but they can't really change the script. They can't change what the characters say and do. But Danai then in Rick's last episode on The Walking Dead 9/5, Danai again challenged the writers because they had Rick leaving without any scene with Michonne. And she's like, what nonsense is this? And remember, Gimple set it up, was already setting up that Rick would leave, and that Andrew Lincoln had set it up for Danai to be a part of his story. He knew that wasn't the end. So he set it up that the people that would be a part of his new story would be the main character that would be a part of his story later on, what the movies that they were going to do, was Michonne. That was the only character that he negotiated when I actually said she would be a part of his story going on. So how are you going to segue his story without Michonne? And it was a part of Danai's negotiation as she was exiting the show, because she Andrew Lincoln made sure her negotiations had to include what she would do after in the subsequent universe, because she was going to be a part of his story. So that was part of her negotiations. To continue in the Walking Dead universe. So how is it you're going to continue a story with these two characters and not have them segue in the final episode on their episodes before the episode he leaves? Look how seamlessly they did it in The Ones Who Live, where he remembers, the thing he remembers at the bridge is Michonne's scream. Even though Nicotero directed it for the final shot to be on Daryl instead of Michonne. Yet Michonne was the one who was going to be a part of Rick's story continuing. Again, his misogynoir influenced how he directed the episode. But Danai by then had some power. She wasn't just the chick with a sword as when she just came, as she loves to put it. She had some power. So she challenged the writing, and they did add her what she wanted to. She put in the scene with her and Rick where he was dreaming, hallucinating that she came to him at the bridge and encouraged him to continue fighting. That was Danai. Danai wrote that scene. That scene was not in it. Hold on a second. My phone is running out of power, and I don't want it to interrupt the live. We're almost done. The episode is almost done, but let me quickly go ahead and plug the phone in if I can find the cord. Hold on. This is for the iPad. I don't know if it will work because I don't know where the charger is for the phone. Nope, it doesn't fit. Let me go find it. Okay, let's see what you guys said. That's why the ones who, Rashida said, that's why in the ones who live episode for the adolescents reactors didn't like it because it was too much talking. Ah, yeah. They don't know anything about character driven stories. They really thought Carol can hold the whole show. Ridiculous, isn't it? Carol has the lowest rated episodes in The Walking Dead. Her focused episodes are the lowest episodes in The Walking Dead. And it seems I heard on the Daryl Dixon show, the same thing happened. Sherry says they put their eggs in the wrong basket. Such a shame. Exactly. Cam J said, how did he not get upset with Andy but just deny? Misogynoir. Our new word, Cam J, because Andy was flirting. No, Andy was flirting. Sorry. Andy acted with Rick flirting with Michonne. Yet he was the one giving, so shy and, and puppy doggish around Michonne. And Michonne was just, smiling and just happy and expressing that and loving his shaved face, which even Deanna came in and, wow, you look good, Rick, and yet denies the one that got the heat. And, and who, it's just like, yeah, misogynoir. Um, Sherry says, do these people have a clue about their base? To have a Rick storyline without Michonne, makes no sense. Yeah, it's the writers, the writers didn't care, or they didn't esteem Michonne as important enough, and that was a big mistake. And yet that's the story they were setting up, Rick and Michonne's story, right? Yet she wasn't important in her own story. um they were not setting up the story for Rick and Daryl. They were not setting up the story for Rick and anybody else. But yet, Michonne wouldn't have that one-on-one with Rick to set up their story. Dumb. Um, Rashida said that's why AMC has wrestling on their channel. Yes, Constance said sometimes actors can ad lib if the director is open to it. Yeah, but the script has to be changed. So the script supervisor, if the writer is on set, the writer approves it, and then the script supervisor changes the script. So, because the final script has to match what's on screen. So yeah, sometimes they need approval from the writers. There's some shows like the Larry David show. I've worked on that show. They just riff. They just ad lib, and the director. I think the director is one of the producers, so they can do and say whatever they want. Larry David can do and say whatever they want. It doesn't matter what the writer wrote, because most of it is ad lib. And a lot of what the director what they're saying is the director saying, well, Larry, try this, say such and such and such and such. So the script supervisor, for shows like that, the writer doesn't have the final say, and then the script supervisor would then change the script according to what the final shot is. But sometimes, like as I said, like a sketch comedy show like the Larry David show, you know, they have different takes of them saying different things. So I don't know. I guess what airs is what the final script would be. But yeah. So it depends on the show and the power that the actor has, as I said. So yeah, sometimes they challenge and they go, as I told you, Denai was able to change that part of the script for her character. Scott Gimple is the showrunner, MH. He didn't write all episodes. There were some episodes that he wrote, but he didn't write all episodes. You have a writer's room, and different writers were responsible for different episodes. He was a showrunner. He laid the outline, like as I told you, the macro, like they had to hit certain plot points, and the individual writers for the episodes could write what they want, but they had to hit those plot points. So yeah, but there were some episodes he wrote, like he wrote Clear. I don't know if he wrote, did he write the episode, the final episode of Andy's 9-5? I don't know if he wrote that, but he was definitely, he was setting up the story for Rick and Michonne to continue later on. So if he was the one that wrote that and excluded Michonne, shame on him, because then I had to correct him. Okay, let's continue. Let's finish up the episode. We're almost done. Let me see what Rick says, what nonsense Rick is saying. Hold on.
I would have killed him myself. She was right to do it. They were sick, spreading a disease. They weren't going to make it.
She was right to do it. They were sick, spreading a disease. They weren't going to make it. So, uh, did Glenn make it? Glenn was sick and spreading a disease. Sasha was sick and spreading a disease, right? How did he know if they would make it or not? Each person's immune system is different. Some people react different to viruses, to some viruses. Nonsense. But the writers wanted Rick to say she was right. No, she was not right. He was right. But character assassination.
Yeah, but this was back then. And you didn't kill her. You sent her away, Rick. And she came back. And she came back and she saved all y'all.
And she came back and you sent her away. You didn't kill her. She went away and she came back and she saved all of you all. And that's all the writers are trying to beat that into people. She is it. She's everything. She's right. Rick is wrong. Every wrong she does is right. Every right Rick does is wrong. Because Negan is right. Because Carol is right. Because, and she's your savior. Rick never saved Carol or anybody. Just Carol has saved. That's all you hear, the characters. It's just Carol. I owe Carol. Carol this, Carol that. Look at how many things the group has done for each other. But you don't hear other characters beating it into the audience's head and into the having the characters say to each other, oh, Carol saved us, Carol saved us, Carol saved us. You don't hear Rick saved us, Rick saved us, Rick saved us. You don't hear Michonne saved us, Michonne saved us. You don't hear Maggie saved us, Maggie saved us. You don't hear Glenn. It's just ridiculous. All they did was get me to not like the character they're trying to force us to put as our number one. And no matter what the discourse is online, because her fans are very misogyn, a lot of them practice misogyny. They hate Michonne and they hate Rashon because they wanted Daryl and Carol to be the number one couple so that Carol would be the number one female character. So they hate Michonne with a passion. But they're very loud, but they're not a lot. You know how I know? Because when the focus is on Carol and she has to carry an episode, the ratings are hella low. So I know my opinion is very controversial, and my opinion is very controversial, and some would say in the minority, but the numbers back me up. Men lie, women lie, numbers do not lie. And I think one of the reasons is because of what the writers did, how they kept bludgeoning the viewer's head with this ridiculous notion that Carol is the number one hero for for the show, and she's better than Rick, and Rick is wrong and she's right, and it's just nonsense.
People can come back, Rick. 'Cause 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 'c
I had a friend who used to watch The Walking Dead with us, and when I think the latter seasons when Rick was leaving and Carol, not Carol, Michonne was leaving. I was telling her, let's watch this, let's watch this. She said, I can't watch that show. Is that Carol still in it? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I cannot stand it because all they're going to be doing is trying to tell me that Carol is. And this is not a black woman, the woman that said this to me. She's like, all they're doing is trying to force feed me that Carol is this and Carol is that. And I was like, I cannot stand it. I can't. She's like, I can't watch that show anymore. How do you do it? I was like, wow. Yeah. A lot of my friends, they're just like, oh my gosh, they were over the Carol hyper praise in the show and the constant Carol focus because they found her not likable and they found her story boring. Rashida said your friend was right. Yes, she was. And she did watch The Ones Who Live. I tried to get her to react with me, but none of my friends want to react with me, but they did watch it and loved it. But you can't get them back into The Walking Dead. They're like, no way.
She couldn't have been dead more than a day. Hey! Whoa! Whoa! Okay. I don't want any trouble. Come out. Drop your weapons. Can't do that. Wasted it. Too close. Just looking for my horse. Seen him? No. Looking for our friend. Have you seen her? Have you seen her? They're coming. Just go. Just go. Rick, we didn't know who he was.
It's one of the hilltops, like the one on the road. Maybe he's one of them. Maybe he's looking for Carol, too.
Maybe the man is just looking for a horse. Maybe he is from Hilltop. Maybe he's from somewhere else.
I don't take chances anymore.
Those people. The wolves. After they attacked, I found one of them. He'd attacked me on the road before when I was trying to find you, and I stopped him. But I let him live. And then he was there in Alexandria after the attack, hiding in one of the brownstones, so I stopped him again. I knocked him out, and I could have killed him. But all life is precious. Put him in the cell of the brownstone basement. Because I knew he could change. We all can change.
You had one of them alive in the community?
Oh, yeah. And when the walls came down and the walkers broke in, Carol found out. We fought, and that man escaped. And Denise, she had come to the cell to try and help him, and he took her hostage. And as she and that wolf, they got swarmed. And that man That killer, he saved her life.
Would Denise be in the situation where her life needed being saving if the wolf hadn't taken her? Morgan makes no sense. The only reason, the reason why her life was threatened is because he kidnapped her. So he didn't save her life. He put her life in danger. Ooh.
And then Denise was there to save Carl.
Denise would have been there to save Carl because she was not kidnapped by the wolf.
Everything gets a return.
Rick, go home. Your wife has been kidnapped.
The fact is the fact. I did what I did. I let him live. You go home, Rick.
Yeah, go home.
Take the car. You need it back there. You shouldn't be out here taking any more chances. I'm not leaving. Carol's still out here. And I will find her. Somehow.
He's not leaving. Carol is still out there. His wife is out there. Do you see what I mean? It's just like these writers. It's like, is Michonne invisible? Yeah, Morgan doesn't make any sense. He just keeps going in circles. But do you see what they're doing with Rick to try to prop Carol?
You go. You're coming back. Yeah. But if I don't come looking.
Oh, he's not going to come looking.
Take it. No, I take it.
Only Carol deserves to be searched for. It's just ridiculous.
Morgan. Michonne did steal that protein bar. Oh, I know.
And now he's using Michonne to try to reconnect back with, to show Morgan that he still has goodwill towards him. So he gave up Michonne to Morgan. So that was a nice little piece of connection between them. It's like, Michonne did steal your protein bar. He's like, oh, I know. So it's just Rick trying to tell him, I care about you, buddy, and I'll always do. And it's just a nice little piece of connection between them. But instead of them connecting and talking about what's changed in Rick's life in terms of with Michonne, that's what I'm saying. Rick and Michonne became a couple, but then there was no in-depth musings about it. There's Rick and Morgan are wasting their time talking about Carol. The connection for Morgan and Rick is Michonne. That's who Morgan met first. And that's who Rick has found purpose and life with to go on. Because, that intersection of him and Morgan losing their wives. Right? And how they found each other in the apocalypse and what they went through, and then what Morgan was going through because he wasn't able to do what he was supposed to do in letting go of his wife. And Rick was going through the same situation in that he couldn't let go of his guilt, just like Morgan couldn't let go of his guilt of not taking care of the issue with his wife, which allowed his son to die. versus Rick not taking care of the threat, which allowed his wife to die. They are so, their stories are so parallel and connected. And here now, in Clear, Rick said to Morgan, what's really hurting you is that you now know there's a chance. There's a chance of survival, and it hurts that you have that chance, but your wife and son didn't survive to experience that chance. That's what Rick was going through when he got to Alexandria. And then he has a future and a hope. And there was something that Morgan said to him. I think it's later. He didn't say it yet. And they didn't have Rick again the missed opportunity to explore, to tell him, it changed for me. I have a future, an even better future, just like how David said to Michonne that what he had with his wife Betsy was what was better than what he had even before the world fell. Rick had that chance to connect again with Morgan through Michonne, but the writers made that connection Carol instead of Rick's wife, his new wife, which would be even more symbolic and organic for Morgan's story and for Rick's story. But they pushed out Michonne again and forced in this stupid story with Carol and this back and forth that bored everyone out of their minds. Because again, they're trying to prop Carol. And him discussing his new outtake on life and what's possible would also help us, the audience, to get an insight to how he feels and what's going on with him finally taking this step with Michonne. We didn't get to explore that because when it organically could have happened, they again pushed Michonne off the stage so that it could be that Carol could take center stage. Same thing they did with Jesse. Because they didn't want Michonne to be at center stage. Again, misogynoir. It's the story that's supposed to be told, just like the story with Rick and Shane and Lori. That's the story that's supposed to be told because that's the story for Rick. And they refuse to do it because Michonne, misogynoir. Michonne is the one. And Denai and Andy had to do it themselves in The Ones Who Live.
Morgan's still out there looking. Is Michonne here?
She's still out there, too.
So Rick comes home and asks, where's Michonne? Abraham says she's still out there. Rick looks hella worried. Does Rick leave and go look for Michonne? No. Yet he left his kids to go look for Carol. Does Rick care about Carol more than Michonne? No. Yet the writers had Rick sacrifice him knowing his kids are safe for Carol, and they had him sacrifice. Now he's worried about Michonne, and he's sacrificing his peace of mind by not going to look for Michonne. Yet they had him sacrifice his peace of mind about Carl and Judith to go look for Carol. Could be, Sherry. Could be. But look at that. You see what I'm saying? They are. It's not organic. It's not true to form. You see in season, was it season 3 or season 4? Season 4 when he exiled Carol? Season 4. In season 4, you see how in season 3, Rick kept saying to Michonne, you have to leave. We're going to fix you up and you're gone. Whatever. Rick didn't want Michonne to leave. If he wanted Michonne to leave, Michonne be gone. He had no problem exiling Carol. Right? You're telling me Rick, who is head over heels in love with Michonne, who has a family with Michonne, who has become Judith's and who has become Judith and Rick's mother, that Rick with worry now, but he's not leaving to go look for his wife, makes no sense. He's seeing, Abraham looks at Rick and he sees the worry. He's asking him, "Are you afraid?" He sees him. He's sick with worry. Yeah, he's just standing there staring at the road. He didn't stand there and stare at the road, right? For Carol. He has to go look for Carol. I'm telling you, there's going to be another damsel in distress, and he's not going to stick around. He's going to go and save that damsel in distress. The damsel in distress is a force of nature and is the biggest badass. Yeah, he went to rescue that. But his damsel in distress, his wife, the love of his life, he's not going to go rescue her. He's just going to stand and look, go Rick to go rescue. Because that's how they look at it. Exactly, that's not Rick. They are projecting and writing how they view and how they think the viewers would feel or react to Michonne being missing. Michonne is not worth the effort to go and look to search for her. But Carol is, and Maggie is not his wife and the mother of his children. Carol is not his wife and the mother of his children, nor the mother of his children. Carol couldn't care less about Rick most of the times. Yet he'll sacrifice knowing and seeing that knowing the saviors are coming to Alexandria and leaving his kids there to go look for her. But for Michonne, no, it's just standing at the gate, sick with worry.
Go back to it. With somebody close.
So Abraham, this is a first little insight into what Rick may be thinking in the terms of how he feels about Michonne. We know he loves her and everything. But again, it's good to explore a character's point of view. But this is mostly for Abraham because he's about to, so they need people to know how he's feeling. So he gets to talk about how he feels. And Rick is a side beneficiary of that. We get to explore a little how he feels, but he's not the one expressing. Abraham is the one expressing. Because for them, it's important for the audience to know how Abraham feels, because Abraham is going to make a sacrifice, right? But yet it's not important to hear Rick verbalize how he feels about Michonne. So let's continue.
Yeah.
So Abraham said, "Are you afraid to go back to it, to let someone so close. He sees how worried he is about Michonne. So he is like, because Abraham is feeling that way too. He knows the saviors are coming and it could change everything. And it's going to mean a war. It's going to mean fighting and they may lose people. So he's like, are you afraid? Because that's how Abraham feels. Are you afraid, Rick? But it's not just afraid of fighting and the saviors, but are you afraid of going back to where it's possible for you to lose your love? You know, like Abraham lost his wife and his kids. So he's seen Rick, because Rick asks, where's Michonne? And he's watching Rick almost throw up in worry and saying, are you afraid? Asking, are you afraid? But not just afraid. It's not about afraid of the saviors. Are you afraid to love that way again, to where the loss would destroy you? Because it almost destroyed Abraham. It almost destroyed Rick. But it's not that he lost his love. He loved Laurie and he lost it. But what almost destroyed Rick was the guilt. So, but with Michonne, he is acknowledging, yes, he's afraid to go back to that and to lose that type, you know, to lose her. That is it survivable? That's what Abraham is asking him, because that's what Abraham is feeling. But again, they're having Abraham express this. And as a tangent, we're getting some insight into Rick instead of the, Rick, whatever.
Me too.
So Abraham admits
Now,
he feels that way. He's afraid to lose because he loved.
much more ready to tear the world a brand new asshole.
But he said even though he's afraid of the possibility of losing that love because of what's going to happen, the war, and who knows, she may die or, whatever. The heartache of losing, Sasha. And Rick says, yes, he's afraid of that. But Abraham added, on the flip side, it's given him more courage. It's make him want to fight, to keep her alive, to keep that love that he found. Rick laughs because nobody says stuff like Abraham does. He has a way with words. So Rick had to laugh at that one. And he agrees with him. Now watch this part.
You say it now.
He looks at Rick and he tells Rick, any second now, she's coming. He's standing there staring down the road as if he can conjure up Michonne because he's sick with worry because she has not returned. And we know she has been taken by the saviors. And so he's right to be worried. And he looks in appreciation for Rick here, sharing with him. Well, Rick didn't really share, but allowing Abraham to share his fears and his fears about, not just fears, his love for Sasha and his fears about losing her. In appreciation, he comforts Rick and tells Rick, any minute, any second now, Michonne is gonna come home. Don't worry, she's gonna come home. Look at Rick's reaction.
Any second.
Any second, he's just stand there like a lost puppy, willing Michonne to come to him through those gates. It's beautiful. It it it's another profession of his deep, deep love for Michonne. He can hardly stand still. He looks sick to his stomach, and he's moving from one leg to the other. And Abraham is reassuring him. But why isn't he going out there to find her? He's so sick. If Sasha was out there, Abraham wouldn't be standing at the gate. Abraham would be gone. But again, Andy can only do what he can do. So as I said, Andy and Denai saved the foundation, the writing for the early seasons, set a great foundation for Rick and Michonne. And Andy and Denai saved Rick and Michonne. They poured all the nuances in their acting which sold to us, that told us these two are the love of each other's lives. The writing was many times an obstacle, but it's an obstacle that Denai and Andy overcame, because they have Rick chasing down Carol at the sacrifice of his kids' safety, and being a knight in shining armor to Maggie at the sacrifice of his kids' safety and his life, and knowing that Michonne is missing, yet not searching for her. That's not Rick. But it's the writer's view of who is worthy of sacrifice and who is worthy of that type of gallantry. It's the writer's misogyny projecting onto Rick Grimes, because that's not Rick Grimes. Rick would not just stand there. The way he sacrificed and went into action for women that were, he calls family, he would have done for the love of his life and the mother of his kids. So when I told you guys that I don't know if I can make it through after season 6, this is why. Because I'm telling you, as a writer, it's so blatant to me. I cannot ignore it. And I have to profess what I'm seeing through the writing. It's not just what's appearing to me. I'm analyzing things from not just a viewer, but as a writer. And I see the misogyny in the writing. Again, thank you, Constant, for, describing that word for me, for, bringing that, because I don't want to be negative, but I have to be truthful. And it is what pulled me away from The Walking Dead. I am a Michonne and Rick fan. I'm a Michonne fan, and I was a Walking Dead fan up to a point. So I should have thought about how it would play out after, what made me pull away from the show. Because who wants to sit and watch a reaction where it's like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Oh, that's who, nobody wants to sit and watch that. But I have to be truthful with you guys. I'm going to finish. There's 3 minutes. I'm going to finish the episodes. Then I'm going to read what you guys wrote and we'll discuss.
Scott said you were looking for me? What's up? Need some more help? Man, did I go too short? I only used to cut my dad's. No, stop that. Maggie?
What do you think caused Maggie's pain? The pickle? Maybe she ate some bad pickles. And look at Michonne and Glenn just sitting there kidnapped. Sasha and Glenn sees them. I forgot it. I didn't know this happened.
Hi, Daryl.
Oh yeah, he shot him in the shoulder. And they made sure to say you'll be all right so that audiences wouldn't get mad that they killed Daryl. Oh look, John Berthel has a #1 show on Netflix, His and Hers, with him and what's her name. That's pretty good because he's been doing a lot of, he's been starring in a lot, well, not starring, but he's been a supporting actor in a lot of movies. And he just hasn't broken out yet. When I say broken out, he's such a good actor and he's gotten so many um great opportunities, but none has catapulted him into like a big enough star yet. You know, he's getting so many opportunities. Even he had a Punisher, yet he wasn't big worldwide, like how, you know, even like Spider-Man and, you know, well, those are the top characters, but even how Danai got worldwide fame from being Okoye. He was the Punisher, but it was a TV show, but for some reason it wasn't that big overseas. So he's not gotten it, you know, he's sought after by other actors and directors, and, you know, he gets really great opportunities, but he's not blown up. He's not like a A-list star yet, you know? He's such a John Berthel, he's such a good actor. You know, he Andy and Lauren, they just catapulted The Walking Dead. They carried The Walking Dead on their shoulders for those first 2 seasons. They were great actors. They were just visceral, and, you know, their tr- triangle dynamic made some drama for The Walking Dead. So all these little, you know, fanboys, Negan fanboys, and Carol fans who think that The Walking Dead should be only about zombies or whatever. It's like, you know, it's the character story and the love stories that make the keeps the interest, you know? If it was just about zombies, all the zombie spin-offs would have done well. People don't care. You know, they want the drama. And boy did Laurie Shane and Rick bring the drama. And John Berthel he's so intense. He's too intense for me. But when I say for me, his acting style is too intense, but whew, he's so good. But I'm like, dial it down a little, John. But he's such a good actor, and he and Andy and Lauren, is it Lauren the lady? Sarah. I keep saying Lauren. Sarah Wayne Callis. I'm sorry, guys. I made it Lori. So Sarah Wayne Callis. They did a stellar job. So I'm glad to see him finally. He has a hit. I don't know how well the numbers that it will do, but he has the #1 TV. I don't know if it's a miniseries or a TV movie on Netflix. So I'm happy for John Bernthal. And, I think what will finally blow him up is he's gonna be in a new Spider-Man movie. Um, so the Punisher will be in it. So if that doesn't blow him up, I don't know what will. But as a number one hit, who's gonna have a number one hit on Netflix soon? Deny, with the movie with Denzel Washington and Robert Pattinson. So she's gonna be in a new number. That's gonna hit number one on Netflix, and it's gonna do huge numbers. So 2026 is gonna be a big year for Dana, guys. Be ready. I don't see any hints of her in Doomsday, but she could be in it. I don't know. They're focusing on Shuri and Umbaku for Doomsday. And you know what? I don't know if they're going to make it out. I don't know if they're going to make it out of Doomsday and into Secret Wars, because Marvel wants to spin off to the X-Men. So they want to change the universe. So I don't know if maybe they'll save 616, the universe for that Black Shuri and Umbaku are in. Maybe they'll save that universe, our universe Earth, and go on secretly on and then do the next Black Panther. I don't know, but I don't know if a lot of those characters are going to make it out and into Secret Wars and in the future for Marvel. So if Okoye is not in it, maybe she will survive for the future. But I'm not bullish on Marvel anymore, because they're going down the road like a lot of entertainment industry, where they're on the fascist, they're yay for fascism because they think that will get them ratings. So I don't know. I want bigger and better for Danai, and I'm glad that she'll be doing some great projects this year. So yay! Congrats to John Bernthal. And so some big breakout stars from The Walking Dead. That the people from the early seasons, Hollywood know that, these are some good actors. So you have John, you have Steven doing very well. Again, he hasn't broken out big yet. Um, I don't know what role would do that for him, but just like John, Hollywood, other actors and the studios like them. So they keep getting roles. So maybe they'll break out big in something soon. Um Stephen broke out in another Netflix show. Yes, that was Stephen's breakout when he did, what was the show? It was a revenge drama. I did work on it, and I did meet Steven, and I did let him know that I enjoyed him on the Walking Dead, and he lives in my neighborhood. um I saw him and his wife, but that was about a year ago. um I think it was a year ago, before he got the role for um the Marvel movie that bombed. He was supposed to play Sentry in that Marvel movie, The Thunderbolts, but he dropped out of it. I don't know why he dropped out of it, but yeah, he was supposed to be Sentry. But I saw him and his family and probably friends outside of his house before that happened. I haven't seen him in the neighborhood since, but I think he still lives there. So he had a breakout movie. It was a revenge series. It wasn't a movie on Netflix. So Denai's the next one that's gonna have a number one. She had a number two with The Ones Who Live, and I think if there's a season two of The Ones Who Beef, that's it, Cam J, Beef, the miniseries with Steven. And if Denai does The Ones Who Live season 2, I think it could get to number 1 because more people would have binged and liked it to want to see season 2. So, but she's going to get a number 1 on Netflix with the Denzel and Robert Pattinson movie. And then we have the movie with Michael B. Jordan coming out and the movie with John Cena coming out. So she has a lot. 2026 is going to be huge for Danai. So let's read what you guys said because we're done with the episode 15. What happened? Uh-oh. Guys, where did it go? I lost it. Ugh. Subscription. Okay, here it is. I need air. So let's go. Rashida says Daryl looks to Carol as an older sister. There is nothing sexual about Carol and Daryl. No. And you know who made sure that didn't happen? You know who made sure that didn't happen? Because the writers would want it. The writers wanted, what's his name? Nicotera didn't want it. He wanted Daryl with Beth, which tells you his mindset. But yeah, Norman didn't want it. If Norman wanted it, it would happen. Norman didn't want it. Rashida said, Nadine, your friend was right. Yes, she was. Sherry says, constant praise of Carol was sickening. Praise the character with such horrible attributes. Exactly. Same as the praise for Negan and the two sides. And if it was Negan and not Rick, everybody would be rooting for Negan. That kind of argument. No. Nah. Cam J said, not to mention if Morgan had handled the wolves in the woods, they would not have invaded Alexander. Exactly. All those Alexandrias that died by the hands of the wolf would not have died. And also the Alexandrias who died because the wall came down and the herd invaded Alexandria. Those people would not have died. Deanna would not have died because the wolves shot up Rick's RV and Rick was not able to lead the walkers away from the wall. So the wolves caused all of this, and it's because Morgan did not take care of the wolves. So his argument is null and void. It's nonsense. It's just circular reasoning. Rashida said, Carol's a superwoman, but Rick must save her and Michonne can stay out there by herself. Yeah. Which is it, right? If she's superwoman, why are you looking for her? Why don't you go look for the woman that's not superwoman? The woman that you love. Sherry said maybe it had to happen like this because we got a prize with the ones who live. But we would have gotten a prize in The Walking Dead also. So we got a prize. We got a well-written story. We got Rick and Michonne explored in The Ones Who Live, season 1. So you're telling me because we got a good story in season 1, we can't get a good story in season 2? It can happen, Sherry. So if we got a good story in The Walking Dead, it would not preclude that. It does not preclude us getting, it does not negate us getting a good story in The Ones Who Live. A good story is a good story. Good writing is good writing. So we would have gotten both. We would have got a good story in The Walking Dead and would have gotten a good story in The Ones Who Live. Just like we got a good story in The Ones Who Live season 1. And if we get season 2, hopefully we'll get a good story. The only thing that makes me nervous about a season 2 is that because Andy would want, and deny, not just Andy, they want to move on, to make people stop asking them for when is the next season or when are you going to come back and reunite with everyone. They may end it for everyone. And that's what I don't want. I'd rather the ending of season 1 be how we remember Rick and Michonne, not them, not either of them or both of them dying. I don't want that. So I'm not too much on the give us a season 2. I'm nervous about that because they want to move on. Every actor wants to move on eventually. They love that those characters and they love that world. But there comes a time when they want to do other things, and then to not have every interview they do or every fan they meet say, when are you going to? Exactly, Sherry. But that's why I said, be careful of what you wish for. Cam J said, now that you mentioned it, I don't recall anyone going out to rescue Michonne. No, Cam J. Everyone deserves being chased and rescued, but Michonne, mm-mm. Rashida said, no one went out to look for Michonne. Nearly all of Alexandria went out for Maggie to get her to the hilltop. Ruth! Yay! Oh my gosh. Hi, love. Sherry says, that is so true, Rashida. So funny that escaped me, but you're correct. Cam J said, Beef is a miniseries with Stephen. Yes. Yeah, no death. Well, guys, we got to the end of episode 15. Sorry, it was a mixed bag of goods for me, but I had to be truthful. So, um, eh, I don't, those commentators' opinions don't matter to me, Rashida. It's just, that's nonsense. They can keep those opinions. um, So I hope, I was not too negative for you guys, but this is how I felt, and this is why I fell off of the Walking Dead. So what I'm going it's I it's possible that I'll be on the road this coming week, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to do a reaction on Friday. If I'm able to, I'll let you know. And if not, I'll try to catch up on the following week. But if we do a reaction, guys, what is the next episode? Because I really I'm not versed. I'm not versed on this latter part of the seasons. I just know specific episodes like Rick and Michonne's scavenger hunt together where he proposed to her with the fake deer. And I know about, of course, I know about the Negan thing, which I don't know. I don't know if we should, if I can react to that. Not that, it's just, it has, the one thing that the Negan episode has is it has a dream sequence of Rick. Rick is always dreaming, and whenever he dreams, when Michonne is in his dreams, he dreams Michonne as his wife. So in one of his dreams about the future that wasn't going to be with Glenn and Abraham, it was a wedding reception. It was a wedding dinner with him and Michonne and Gabriel. So Rick is always dreaming of marrying Michonne or being married to Michonne. So I'm telling you, Michonne in Rick's eyes is his wife. So I do want to react to that dream. I just don't know if I want to react to the episode. So I don't know. Rashida said, that's why we're watching your channel. I agree with you totally. Even I was when I first watched the show. Okay, Rashida, thank you. So kind. Um, let me know in the comments, guys. Let me know in the comments for this live what episode you think we should do next, because I don't know what the episode's coming for. I have to look at the synopsis and what episode we should do. So please put in the comments what episode you'd like me to do next, and I'll consider the ones that gets the most request. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching this reaction with me. Rashida, put it in the comments for the live, not in the chat, in the comments, so so that I can, because when the live finish, after a while I can no longer read the chat. So I want you to put it in a comment so I can go back and read it. I can read it. Cam J say, you decide the episode. I'm with you. Oh, thank you, Cam J. But if you have a episode preference, just put it in the comments and I'll look to see what you guys want and what you decide on. But thank you so much for watching this reaction with me. I love, love, love spending time with you guys and hearing your opinions and your take on the show and the episodes and things in general, because you guys open my eyes to a lot of things. And earlier what we were discussing with how Michonne presented to Rick in in their room, I never thought of that, considered that as a that perspective. So thank you. And that word that I know of this word, but I was having a hard time remembering it, so I kept doing misogynistic and the other one. So Constant just reminded me that there is a word for that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And just reading what you guys says, and that some of you are in agreement with the nonsense and the focus being on the wrong characters. So I appreciate that knowing that I knew I was not alone. As I said, the numbers speak for it. Plus, the people who I was watching the show with agreed with me. And they're not even of my, they're friends, and, have a different, how could I put this? They're not from the same background I am, and yet they came to the same conclusion, about that character. So it's not a personal bias. Let's just put it that way. You know, it is objective, because I'm not, someone of my background is not the only one that thought this. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a nice weekend. Have a great weekend. Have a nice night and a great weekend. Thank you. And lovely to see you again, Ruth. So great to see you. Night, everyone. Bye.